Good morning. It's been a while since I've been on Facebook Live. We've missed you. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. We're here today to talk about assertions. It's a topic that hasn't gotten a lot of play, and I think it's worth a minute or two to go over, and then we'll take your questions. I think assertions have three elements. The first element is that we notice something. It's raining outside. The temperature has risen. The market has changed. We're not getting as many orders as we used to. This item sells better than that item. These are things that are noticed. They're true. The second part of an assertion is that we have an explanation. We have a theory. This part is important, but it's not required. The third part is required. Now that we've noticed something, and perhaps we have a theory as to why, what are you going to do about it? What's your point of view? What future should we seek to create? What actions should we take now so that we can deal with the thing that we just noticed? So it's fine to have an insight, fine to have a theory, fine to have a why. Why did this happen? But it's essential that we take that insight and turn it into action. That we speak up and stand up and either say, we should do this, this is my proposal, or even better, I'm going to do this, follow me. So we've been thinking about this a lot because in the altMBA, we teach people to practice making assertions. You didn't get encouraged to make assertions when you were 8 years old. And even if you're the quarterback of the football team in high school, you're not supposed to call the plays. That if you're the star of the high school play, you're not supposed to write the lines. But it turns out that writing the lines, deciding what's going to happen next, that stuff we never taught you how to do, that's what everyone wants from you now. That's what's required now. That's where the real value is created. Not in doing your best, not in doing your job, but in figuring out what's next. And that requires the practice of making an assertion. So it's easy to say and hard to do, but at least we can tee it up for you today in this Facebook Live and have you notice it. Notice how often do you make an assertion? When you're wrong, what do you do next? Does being wrong, the risk of being wrong, keep you from making the assertion? In most organizations that I've encountered where people get stuck, they get stuck because they're worried that if they make an assertion, someone's going to ask them to do something about it. So it's easier to take good notes and wait your turn than it is to speak up. Because the feeling goes, if I speak up, they might call my bluff and have me run with it. And if I run with it, it might not work. And that could be bad. Well, I think what we're seeing over and over again is that it's not bad, even when it doesn't work. Because the assertion maker and the leader gets a chance to do it again. So that's what I came to talk about today. That's what we teach in the altMBA. We're going to go over to Sam. I'm sorry, I have a cold today. We're going to go over to Sam, see if she has any questions she wants to do. If you have questions, please go ahead and post them in Facebook, and we'll do our best to get to them.
All right, this one's from Victor. I'm going to be proposing we charge for our app that has become one of the most fast-growing in its genre. Any tips on getting my team on board?
Well, we could talk all day about apps and pricing, but your question appropriately is to get the team on board. Here's the challenge with teams. Most people go to work hoping to do their job, hoping to do a good job of doing their job. And when someone shows up and represents change, that opportunity is easily seen as a threat because it gets in the way of doing your job. That if you go to all the people in the balloon factory and say, I'm bringing a unicorn to work today, their mindset is, don't do that because we make balloons. We don't want a unicorn running around in here. So when we think about how we get a team on board, I think we have to begin with competence. Will this change make people feel incompetent? Because if it does, people are going to fight against it. The answer then is to figure out how to redefine jobs for people in the smallest possible units so they can continue doing work that lets them feel competent. And one of the things that we've discovered on the web is that the web is a direct marketing medium. It's testable, that we can put things into the world, see if they work, and then do it again. So one of the interesting challenges when you're playing with pricing, instead of changing the price for everyone, is to find small groups, small test beds, small opportunities to discover how people respond, how they react, how it works. So maybe we begin by selling our team not on, I know the answer is $10. Maybe it's, I know the answer is we need to test this. We need to test this today and tomorrow and the next day, and we need to keep testing it until we find more data. So maybe we begin there.
All right, this is from Dennis. My company doesn't have the culture of exploring or even presenting assertions. How do I change this?
So Dennis, that's almost always true. And that's the opportunity. It turns out that there are people in your organization who have done it. They've overcome the inertia, and as a result, they've made differences. They've made a change happen. It's just that it's not easy. It's that it's not part of the job. It's that it's not encouraged. So one of the things that we teach is the idea of starting in the small. Maybe you just make an assertion about what lunch is going to be like. Maybe you make an assertion about a slightly different way to run part of the conference. Maybe you make an assertion about testing a piece of copy. It doesn't work to show up and make an assertion that says, oh, we used to make asphalt and now we're going to make solar panels. Those sorts of giant shifts are really hard to sell. But the practice of starting with small things, putting them into the world, realizing they're not fatal, and then repeating, we get to do that as long as we are able to take responsibility and give away credit. That showing up to do this because it works, not because you're going to get points, makes it easier for other people to get on board with you. So I'm not saying it's going to work every time. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think we can agree that it's essential because the world is changing. And in a world that is changing, only the people who are able to see it change, have a theory, and make an assertion about what to do next are the ones who are able to dictate the next cycle.
This one's from Everett. How do you cope with being wrong? So many people have a hard time with this.
Bingo. I am wrong all the time. I am wrong more than you. And being wrong more than you is an asset of mine. That I don't think it's ever possible to decide that it's fun, just like losing a hand of blackjack isn't necessarily fun. But if you go to the casino insisting that you have to win every hand, you're not going to bet ever. That the practice of being a creative is the openness to be wrong. Not to look forward to it, but to accept that, of course, it will happen. So that's the dance we engage in, to be wrong more than anyone else. Now, the only way to be wrong more than anyone else is to be right often enough that you get to keep playing. So there's the balance. You want to keep playing the game. You want to keep making assertions and guesses. That blogging every day has helped me immensely. Because if I write something 7 years ago or 12 years ago, and it turns out to not be true, there it is in writing. But it's not fatal. I'm still here. That's a practice, and it's one we can each engage in. So Sam, before we do the next question, tell me about the dates of what's happening. So the next session in the altMBA, full? Completely full? Full. Can't take anybody else.
Session is full.
Okay, and so what happens after that? Spring?
So now it's spring, so it's April 23rd to May 23rd.
April 23rd, right?
And the first priority deadline is January 22nd.
So January 22nd is the deadline for early action, early decision, first dibs. And we're letting people know this now, long before the Christmas rush, because this is the time to plan. So where do we go? altMBA.com/apply?
Yep.
Okay, we'll put that on the screen.
Yep.
And we'd love to hear from you. We do this for you, and we know it's not a program for everyone. That's okay. But if it is for you, we hope you'll check it out. Okay, back to some more questions.
We'll do 2-3 more.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, this is Fred, speaking of the altMBA. Can you be more clear on how the altMBA prepares you to make assertions? Does it help with communication style, the ability to form a clear assertion?
So inside the altMBA, we do 13 or 14 projects. And every time you do a project, you are going to do work in your group making assertions. And then you're going to publish that work to the entire cohort. They are then going to give you feedback. In many cases, more feedback than you have ever gotten for a work product ever. You're going to take that feedback, engage with it, and then make a new assertion. And repeat that process over and over and over and over and over again every day for 30 days. Surrounded by people as thirsty as you. And what we discovered is that 30 days is enough time to build a habit. And it's the habit of feeling safe making assertions. The habit of listening to constructive feedback. The habit of taking that feedback and making a new assertion. If you want to run a marathon, it helps to run a mile first. And what we do in the altMBA is we run a mile every day. And after we run a mile every day for a month, maybe you're ready to start running 3 miles a day. So the altMBA is a boot camp, a training facility to teach people how to see, how to make decisions, and then how to make these assertions that enable us to lead.
All right, this one's from Gina. This will be our last one.
Okay, thank you, Gina. Thanks everyone for tuning in today.
Is there such thing as a good or bad assertion? It seems the hard part is just being able to say it out loud.
Oh, there are tons and tons of bad assertions. There are bad assertions where people say, for example, true fact, the world is getting warmer. My theory, my why, is because there are elves in the center of the earth that have turned up the thermostat, and my assertion is that we should deal with it by burning more coal. That is not a good assertion. It won't work because it's based on a flawed analysis. But yeah, it's better than saying nothing, because if you say it, someone else can say, wait a minute, there are no elves. It might be this instead. And that's how science works. That's how decision-making works. That's how organizations grow. Because, excuse me, because someone cares enough to show up and say, I noticed this, I think it's this, we should do that. And if we can start doing it with each other, the act of making an assertion will make us all smarter if we're willing to listen and then respond. Not react, but respond. So yes, your assertions will get better, but the secret, Gina, as you understood, is you have to make them first. So with that, we're going to wrap up. Short one for this Friday. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back sooner rather than later. Appreciate it. See ya.